Look, I want you to be honest with me for just a second. Have you ever sat at 2 a.m., staring at your bank account, and thought, maybe God is testing me. Maybe I'm supposed to struggle right now. Here's the thing. Last week, I spoke with a woman who had been praying for a financial breakthrough for 7 years. 7 years. She worked 2 jobs, barely scraping by, and every Sunday at church someone told her, just have more faith. God is testing you. And you know what? She believed it. She genuinely believed her poverty was somehow spiritual. Even when she had $57 in her account, she believed that if she prayed more, donated more, God would reward her. But here's what nobody talks about. What if poverty isn't God's test? What if it's just bad financial decisions hiding behind that idea? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share may make you uncomfortable, but it might also completely change your financial future. Let's look at what's really going on. According to a study by the U.S. Federal Reserve, 37% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. 37%. That's not God's test, that's a systemic problem. But, and this is where things get interesting, when researchers dug deeper, they found something shocking. People who viewed their financial struggles as God's will or a test of faith were 64% less likely to take concrete steps to improve their situation. Think about that. The belief that's supposed to comfort you is actually keeping you stuck. Now maybe you're thinking, wait a second, so is faith bad? Am I not supposed to trust God? No, absolutely not. Listen to me. What I'm saying is this. There is a massive difference between faith and fatalism. Faith says, I trust God and I will manage what He has given me wisely. Fatalism says, whatever happens is God's will, so there's nothing I need to do. Do you see the difference? Here's the thing. Our brains love fatalism because it removes responsibility. Psychologically, this is a defense mechanism called spiritual bypassing. Instead of facing reality, maybe I overspend, maybe I don't budget, maybe I need to learn investing, we wrap all of that in spiritual language. And look, I get it. Saying God is testing me is easier than saying, I bought a car I couldn't afford. But here's the crazy part. When you actually look at religious texts, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, you find that they are full of financial wisdom. Practical, actionable financial wisdom. Proverbs 21 verse 5 clearly says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. That's not sit and wait for a miracle. That's plan and execute. There's the parable of the talents, ancient money, where the servant who buries his money is punished for not using it. He's punished for being too cautious. In the Quran, there are over 100 verses about fair trade, honest contracts, and avoiding debt. If poverty were a test of faith, why would these texts contain so much financial strategy? Think about it. The real test, in my view, is not whether you can endure poverty with a smile. The real test is whether you can take responsibility for your financial life while keeping your faith. And most people fail this test every single day. Because here's what happens. You wake up, see that you're broke, pray about it, feel a little better, and then do nothing. You don't budget. You don't track your spending. You don't learn compound interest. You don't build an emergency fund. You just wait for God to reward you. Then a month passes, you're in the same situation, and you say the same prayer again. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely calls this magical thinking. The belief that wishing or praying alone, without corresponding action, will change outcomes. And this costs people an average of $1,843 per month in lost financial optimization. That's over $22,000 a year. Gone. Because of inaction disguised as faith. Now this is where it gets really interesting, and honestly, this is the part most people never notice. What if your financial situation isn't God testing your faith, but God asking you to use the brain He gave you. Look, if you pray for a job but never send out a resume, that isn't faith. That's foolishness. If you pray for financial freedom but spend $200 a month on unused subscriptions, that isn't a test. That's a choice. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine praying to be healthier while eating fast food 3 times a day and never exercising. God would probably look down and say, I gave you a body, I gave you nutritional knowledge, I gave you free will. What exactly are you expecting me to do? The same applies to money. So what does this mean in practice? I'm glad you asked, because this is where we move from theory to transformation. First, stop asking, why is God testing me? Why does He allow bad things to happen to me? And start asking, what can I control right now? What can I change with the resources I have? You can control your spending. You can control whether you track your money. You can control whether you learn personal finance. You can control whether you try to increase your income. At the very least, you can try without complaining. Second, understand this. Every dollar is a seed. Not in the prosperity gospel sense of sow into this ministry. I'm talking about real financial seeds. You either plant it in debt and watch it grow into more debt, or you plant it in assets and watch it grow into wealth. Here's a crazy statistic. If you save just $10 a day, skipping one takeout lunch, canceling one streaming service, whatever, and invest it at an average 8% return, you'll have $135,000 in 20 years. From just $10 a day. That's not a miracle. That's math. But here's the point, it requires faith and action. Now some of you are thinking, but I truly don't have $10 a day to save. I'm drowning in bills. I understand you. And look, I am not dismissing real systemic poverty, real emergencies, real struggles. Those are absolutely real. But, and I say this with care, I have also met people making $60,000 a year who say they can't save $10 a day. Then we look at their spending, $400 on food delivery, $150 at coffee shops, $80 on forgotten app subscriptions. The truth is, most people don't have an income problem. They have an awareness problem. You can't manage what you don't measure. And most people have never truly tracked where every single dollar goes for even 1 month. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. First, download a budgeting app, I don't care which one, and track every single expense for 30 days. Every coffee, every subscription, everything. You will be shocked by what you find. Second, calculate your real net worth. Assets minus liabilities. Face the number, even if it's negative. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Third, and this is critical, separate your faith from your finances in your mind. Not because they're unrelated, but because mixing them the wrong way keeps you stuck. Pray, yes, but also plan, budget, learn, take action. And finally, if you found value in this video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Because every week I create content to help you build a better future. And you don't want to miss what's coming next. Seriously, the next video is about the biggest money lie churches unintentionally teach. And it will blow your mind. Look, the bottom line is this. Being poor is not a test of faith. But how you respond to it, that just might be. The move is yours. Let's build wealth together. See you next time.